Netflix just humiliated Meghan Markle on the international stage, and the timing could not have been more devastating. Here is what happened. Reports broke that Meghan Markle was in talks for a role in debuted at number 4 on the platform in 2024, one of the strongest performing shows the streaming giant had produced in years. The reports suggested she was being considered for a major role. Some outlets said talks were at an early stage. Others said they were advanced. The Sussex camp was said to be excited. Meghan, according to sources close to the situation, was described as very excited about the prospect of acting again. Within 24 hours it was over. The talks, whatever stage they were actually at, collapsed. The role evaporated, and Meghan Markle was left standing in the wreckage of yet another announced project that did not survive contact with reality. But here's the part that nobody is talking about loudly enough. The timing of this story, the way it broke, the way it spread, and the way it was shut down almost immediately, points to something that goes well beyond a normal Hollywood negotiation that did not work out. It points to Netflix using Meghan Markle for publicity while knowing full well that the deal was never going to happen. And if that is what occurred, it is one of the coldest, most calculated moves the streaming giant has ever made against a talent they are still technically in business with. Let us back up and understand the full picture, because to understand what just happened, you need to understand where Meghan and Netflix actually stand right now, and what each side needs from the other. Netflix greenlit The Gentleman Season 2 before Season 2 had even debuted. That is not unusual in the modern streaming landscape. Unlike traditional broadcasting, where networks wait to see how a show performs before committing to another season, streaming platforms often make decisions based on what they have seen in edit, what their data tells them about audience appetite, and what deals they need to lock in to secure key cast members. The Gentleman performed exceptionally well, Season 2 going into production, before the debut of the first season is entirely consistent with how Netflix operates. So the idea that Meghan could have been in genuine, early discussions for a potential Season 3 role is not, on its face, impossible. Netflix has greenlit more seasons of shows before previous ones air. That is the streaming world. But here is where it falls apart. And it falls apart not on the technicalities of Netflix's production schedule, but on the fundamental question of whether Meghan Markle makes any sense as a casting choice for The Gentleman at all. The Gentleman is a violent, darkly comedic British crime series. It is full of sharp, quippy British dialogue, murky underworld characters, illegal drugs, sex, gory violence, and the kind of razor-edged humor that requires an actor with genuine timing and comedic instinct. It is, by any reasonable assessment, one of the least Meghan Markle appropriate shows on the entire Netflix platform. Think about the audience Meghan has spent the last several years cultivating. The lifestyle brand, the jam, the honey, the garden aesthetic. With Love Meghan, the soft-focus cooking show built entirely around warmth, domesticity, and the pleasures of a California kitchen. As ever, the brand designed to communicate calm, quality, and a certain kind of aspirational homemaking. Everything Meghan has built, commercially since leaving the royal family, has been aimed at one specific demographic: women, primarily American women. Women who respond to warmth and beauty and the kind of life that looks perfect on a Saturday afternoon. The Gentleman's audience is almost the exact opposite. It skews male. It is British in its humor and its sensibility. It is violent in ways that Meghan's cultivated audience would find jarring and off-putting. And the role being discussed, a temptress, a seductress, a woman of dangerous sexual charisma, requires precisely the kind of on-screen magnetism and physical command that Meghan has never demonstrated in her acting career. This is not cruelty. This is a casting reality. Meghan spent years on Suits playing Rachel Zane, a capable, attractive, professionally ambitious character who functioned largely as a romantic anchor in a legal drama. It was not a role that required her to carry a scene through sheer force of personality. It was not a role that put significant demands on her range. And when she left that role and tried to pivot to producing, the results were disappointing by every measurable standard. So the question that serious entertainment industry observers are asking is not whether Meghan could theoretically have been in early discussions for a Guy Ritchie project. The question is, who thought this was a good idea? Because nobody with a genuine understanding of casting, branding, And audience alignment would look at Meghan Markle and think, the gentleman. Nobody would look at the audience she has built and suggest a gangster comedy with gory murder and bad language. Nobody with her commercial interests in mind would place her in a show where she would be surrounded by British actors who came up through a training system that prioritizes craft and rigor and technique, unless the point was never to cast her at all. And this is where the theory that is circulating among royal and entertainment commentators becomes genuinely compelling, because Netflix has something it needs right now. Season 2 of The Gentleman debuts on September 3rd. The show needs publicity. It needs to generate headlines in the weeks before the premiere. It needs people who have not seen or heard of it to suddenly know its name and want to know more. What is the easiest way to generate that kind of global attention? Attach a name to it that the entire world will react to. A name that will produce an immediate, strong emotional response from millions of people across multiple countries. Simultaneously, a name so well known, so consistently discussed, so reliably controversial that even a brief association with a project will generate the kind of press coverage that no advertising budget can replicate. Meghan Markle. Let her name get attached to the show. Let it run for 24 hours. Long enough for every royal commentator, every entertainment outlet, every tabloid, every royal YouTube channel, every Sussex watching account to pick it up and discuss it. Let the headline run. Meghan Markle in talks for the gentleman. Let the debate unfold. Is this a good fit? Can she act? What does this mean for her and Harry's move back to the UK? Then quietly, when the story has done its job, kill it. Say the backlash was too much. Say the talks didn't progress. Move on. And The Gentleman. Season 2 has just had one of the most efficient publicity campaigns in Netflix history, at Meghan Markle's expense. If that is what happened, and the circumstantial case for it is strong, it represents a significant shift in the balance of power between Netflix and the Sussex camp, because it means Netflix no longer feels it needs to protect Meghan's image. It means they are comfortable using her commercially in a way that is potentially damaging to her, without any apparent concern about her reaction. It means the relationship has shifted from partnership to something much more transactional and much less respectful. And that shift tells you a great deal about where the Sussex brand actually is right now, and regardless of what Meghan says publicly about his ever thriving in the lifestyle brand doing well and everything being on track. Because here is the question that the entertainment industry has been asking quietly for months, and that this gentleman's story has now brought into sharp focus. If As Ever is genuinely thriving, if the jam and the honey and the lifestyle products are generating the kind of revenue that Meghan's public statements suggest, why does she need another job? Building a brand from the ground up is all-consuming work. Ask anyone who has ever done it. The hours, the focus, the constant iteration required to take a product from launch to genuine commercial success. There is no space in that process for simultaneously pursuing acting roles in Guy Ritchie productions. Successful brand founders do not go looking for acting gigs. They do not put out feelers to Netflix about TV roles. They do not need to. The fact that Meghan is doing exactly that, returning to acting, pursuing roles, re-entering a world she publicly said she had moved on from, is not a sign of success. It is a sign of urgency, a sign that the As Ever revenue is not covering the bills, a sign that the Sussex commercial strategy, which has cycled through Netflix documentaries, Spotify podcasts, lifestyle brands, and now acting, has not produced the sustainable income that the California lifestyle requires. Netflix passed on Cookie Queens. Netflix divested its stake in As Ever. If As Ever was generating meaningful revenue, if the brand was building the kind of commercial momentum that justified ongoing investment, Netflix would not have walked away from its equity position in it. A smart company does not divest from a healthy, growing business unless it has a compelling reason to believe the business is not as healthy as advertised. Netflix walked away. And then they used Meghan to promote their own show and walked away from that too, all in the space of 24 hours. Now let us talk about what this Gentleman episode reveals about a deeper problem in Meghan's career trajectory, because the pattern here is not new. It is the same pattern that has repeated itself throughout her professional life, just at an increasingly high-profile level. Meghan Markle has never been primarily interested in acting as a craft. She has been interested in acting as a vehicle, first for fame, then for money, then for the kind of status that fame and money generate. When she was a working actress on Suits, she did not spend her downtime developing as a performer. She did not seek out theater work to build her technique. She did not try her hand at directing or script writing to understand storytelling from the other side. She treated the set of Suits as a platform, not a school. And when a bigger platform presented itself in the form of Prince Harry, she moved to it without looking back. The problem with that approach is that craft does not wait for you. The actors who have long careers and the ones who are still working at 60 and 70 and getting the best roles available are the ones who committed to the work when the work was hard and unglamorous and paid poorly. They built their technique in places where nobody was watching, so that when the cameras did find them, they had something real and deep to offer. Meghan never did that. And now, in her mid-40s, having spent several years playing versions of herself in documentary content and lifestyle programming, she is returning to a form she was never truly committed to in the first place, and being asked to do it surrounded by British actors who came up through one of the most rigorous training traditions in the world. The Gentleman is not the right show for her. Bridgerton, the Netflix period romance that hits exactly the demographic Meghan has cultivated, that values warmth and emotion and a certain kind of aspirational glamour, would have been a far more logical landing spot, something smaller, something in her wheelhouse, a Hallmark-adjacent production where her audience could find her and feel comfortable with what they were watching. Instead, the story that circulated was Guy Ritchie, gangster comedy, violence and darkness and razor-sharp British dialogue, and then nothing. Because it was never going to happen. And the people who let it run for 24 hours knew that from the beginning. Meanwhile, the Sussex camp is still briefing that the move back to the UK is on track, that Portugal is a staging post, that Balmoral may be on the horizon, that the Invictus Games in Birmingham next summer represents a major moment for the family, that As Ever is thriving, that the Diana documentary is in development, that everything is moving forward. But the Gentleman story cuts through all of that briefing, because it shows you in real time what Meghan's actual leverage in Hollywood looks like in August 2025. She can get her name attached to a project for 24 hours. She cannot get the role. She can generate headlines. She cannot generate an offer that survives scrutiny. She has toxicity that is useful to others as a marketing tool and useless to herself as a career asset. Page 6 Hollywood, the entertainment industry newsletter that tracks reputation and relationships inside the industry, described the Sussex situation in terms that are worth sitting with. They have been, it said, rejected from the town like unwelcome pathogens, and a senior figure from one of the major talent agencies, reflecting on what went wrong, put it plainly. Harry and Meghan were not bringing anything tangible to the table, other than their celebrity in a different sphere of life. So why would anyone give them money to make anything, since it's not clear what their credentials are? Celebrity in a different sphere of life, that is the most precise description of what the Sussex brand actually is and has always been. They are famous because of the royal family. Every commercial opportunity they have ever had, every Netflix deal, every Spotify contract, every brand partnership, every acting inquiry, and has been downstream of that one fact. Take away the royal connection and you are left with a mid-level actress from a cable legal drama and a man who is famous for being born into a specific family. That is not nothing, but it is also not a sustainable commercial foundation. And the move back to the UK, the Portugal house, the Highgrove visits, the Balmoral whispers, the Diana documentary, is an acknowledgement of that reality. The royal connection is the only asset that reliably generates attention, and the only way to keep that asset live is to stay connected to the institution, to keep the reunion story going, to keep the grandchildren story going, to keep coming back. Harry is coming back because he wants to come back. Because England is his home and his father is ill and his family is there, and the life he built in California has not given him what he was promised it would. Meghan is coming back because the alternative is staying in Montecito watching the money run out while Netflix uses her name to promote other people's shows and Hollywood does not return calls. The Gentleman story is not just about one failed deal. It is a window into the reality of the Sussex situation in the second half of 2025. The brand is struggling. The leverage is gone. The industry has moved on. And the woman who spent years telling the world she had escaped the toxicity of the British royal family is now trying to find her way back to the one thing that ever made her commercially interesting. The royal connection, the only thing that was ever enough. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Netflix deliberately used Meghan to promote the gentleman and then dropped her? And what does this tell you about where the Sussex brand really stands right now? Subscribe for more daily royal coverage, because this story is moving faster than anyone predicted.